Good afternoon, everybody. I am in place of Sharon Whitebear today, so what I'd like to do is go ahead and welcome everybody, and we can go around the table here and we can introduce ourselves.
Thank you, Rebecca Knudsen, the liaison to the Native American Commission from the Fargo Board of Education.
No, you can introduce.
Oh,
Yeah.
made it just in time. Hi, I'm Chelsea Snyder. This is my 4th month as an appointed member of the Fargo Native American Commission. Enrolled member of 3 affiliated tribes. Out of breath because I don't exercise enough.
Whitney Fear, Oglala Sioux Tribe.
Lenore King, Sisseton Wahpeton Oyate.
Guy Fox, MHA.
Catlin Christie, Fargo Planning.
Tia Braseth, Fargo Planning.
Mark Williams, Fargo Planning, sitting in for Nicole today.
Miranda Wolf, Fargo Planning.
Okay, thank you. We'd like to start with a prayer and
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, just so you know, you have somebody on the phone, John Strand, as well.
John, sorry. Oh, John.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, John. Okay, so then we can, thanks, John. We can go ahead with a prayer, and Whitney is offered to say the prayer today.
Well, I'm not a medicine man or woman, but I'm going to do my best here. Creator, we're here before you today humbly in service to our communities with the hopes that you can help us guide our hearts and minds to be productive for our community and find solutions for the things that are plaguing our brothers and sisters out there, and lead us in a good way, a way that it would make our ancestors proud.
Thank you, Whitney. Okay, then next on our agenda, we are going to approve the last month's agenda and minutes here. Everybody went through them. And I have a motion.
I move to approve agenda and minutes.
Can I second that motion?
Approved. Okay. And next on our agenda here is we have our, the approved roles and responsibilities, and I think we're gonna go ahead and approve this. We went through this last month, and I don't know if anybody caught any changes or anything in here.
Yeah, there was just one change that you discussed at the exec committee meeting, and so we changed the word positively and positive to respectful and respectfully.
Okay, you're right. Isn't that's in here, right?
Yep, and
Yes,
that's
I see
the
it.
only change.
Okay. Is there anything else anybody noticed that we need to?
Can we just comb through it real quick?
Sure. Will you do that?
Just the mission statement. So the mission of the Fargo Native American Commission is to work together to strengthen the Native American community in order to promote understanding, recognition, and respect for the Native American cultures and enrich the whole community. So then it talks about what responsibilities of a Native Commission member. Some of the points are attend monthly commission meetings, attend all scheduled meetings for any committees, help to create a respectful image and build good faith regarding the work and reputation of the Fargo Native American Commission, communicate respectfully and effectively with all members of the commission. And it says duties of the chair, as per the bylaw, or the duties of each officer. As per the bylaws, we have the chair preside over regular meetings, send meeting agenda 3 days prior to the meeting, notify members of a meeting date, time, and location. The vice chair is to preside over the meeting in the absence of the chair, coordinate the storing and distribution of NAC records, coordinate minute taking, special meetings, etc. Treasurer is to report to the commission the budget activities and coordinate those activities with Fargo officials. The duties of committee chairs: schedule meetings and reserve meeting space, if staff liaison can, let's see, report on committee activity to executive committee. The chair of each committee is responsible for taking informal notes that must include any decisions made by the committee. These notes should be shared with the executive committee and the staff liaison within 3 days of their committee meeting. These notes will be included in the packet for monthly meetings, which are assembled 1 week in advance of the NAC meeting. Take lead in organizing any committee activities, and then the duty of the city staff. Is that relevant? It's facilitate the agenda, ensure compliance, take minutes, ensure quorum, provide support, and then disseminate knowledge on sweat lodge preservation. And so since last time, there's only been a few changes to the wording, but otherwise this is pending approval?
Yes. Do we,
I'd make a motion that we approve the Fargo Native American Commission member roles and responsibilities as in this document.
I second that motion.
all right, and then here, the next thing we're gonna talk about is,
Do we have to do a vote?
Oh, sorry.
Discussion then a vote?
thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. Any discussion or vote on this?
Yeah, right on. So all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay.
And I'll just, if I can add, we have an updated list kind of squeezed into this roles and responsibilities agenda item of the updated committee list. And so you'll note that Whitney and Chelsea were added to their new committees. And the PR committee is a bit too big because 5 meets quorum. So if anyone sees another they would prefer to be on, then please let me know. Otherwise, Sharon volunteered to remove herself. So
Yes, that's what I had, that Sharon will move to health and wellness with Whitney and I.
Okay. So if anyone else has any changes, please let me know.
And then just to let the public know, those committees are the executive committee, comprised of Sharon Whitebear, Lenore King, Ruth Buffalo. Number 2 is the Culture and Education Committee. That's Rebecca, Guy, Chelsea. Yeah, Sweat Lodge is Guy, Whitney. Public Relations, Ruth, Lenore, Chelsea, John. Health and Wellness, Lenore, Whitney, Sharon.
And from my understanding, the executive committee receives a rotating member for month-to-month meetings too.
Okay. So then I just move forward to budgets and updates, requests and recommendations. And I can start with the update. The Native American Commission gave us $100 for our 4U community outreach project that we hold every year. We do it 3 times, 3 different places. The first day, we were at Southeast Human Services, and we served 90 people that are already working with Southeast Human Services. And then the second day, we were out here in front of City Hall and between the library, and then we served 260 people just right outside. And the majority of the people that we served out here were homeless, were living in vehicles. And so it was a great turnout. And then the third day, we partnered with YouthWorks for their We've Got You Covered back to school. And we served we lost track after 903. And then so what we did the hygiene part with the YouthWorks. So everybody, like kids, they got shampoo, toothpaste, lotions, toilet paper, you name it, everything. So it was a great turnout, and I thank the Native Commission for sponsoring us. Okay. And then the Navy Week flags, I've got that we did pay the drums $150, and we are still waiting on the invoice for the food from, I think, Aaron Yellowbird. So, we haven't
I'll
heard.
follow up with her on that.
Okay. And, for the request for the native stand, and that is with the human family. What we've voted on,
That's a different one.
oh, they're both different,
Yep,
okay.
two different. So,
Okay, I'm not sure what we're doing with the native stand.
sure. So at the executive committee, I think the executive committee recommends that the Native American Commission approve the native stand for $250 this year and $250 next year. And they recommend that the $250 be split between the Culture and Education Committee budget and the Health and Wellness Committee budget. So that's the recommendation that we're presenting today in need of approval or not.
Lenore, what is the native stand?
Okay, we had a packet of it last week. Could you explain that more?
Sure. So they presented last week. I have a copy of it somewhere.
I don't think I brought it either.
Sorry. How many?
It's not that one stand that sells dry bread and the Chippewa burgers? No?
Not that.
Right.
Center.
So the Native Stand is a culturally relevant intertribal curriculum for high school aged teens that draw on cultural teachings and values from across Indian country. It can be developed as a peer education program or in a variety of other ways. So they presented at the last meeting, and they are going to be facilitating this program at NDSU next summer. And so
Thank
they,
you.
yeah.
Mhm. So we have a motion to approve that?
Can entertain a motion? Yeah.
Okay,
Anyone want to move on the 250 and 250? Is that what we're?
yeah.
I would move to approve, go ahead.
It did donate $50 during the last commission meeting, so it should be $250 and $210, right?
Is that first?
I don't know if it's just a their budget. Does that
I-
affect the budget?
Better not tweak with the executive summary or executive.
I thought
committees.
that was a personal
Okay.
donation. Yeah.
No, yeah, it was. I just didn't know if that would affect their overall budget.
I
or
mean-
the need for it.
I mean, they requested, I think, $1,000, so I'm sure they would welcome all.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No.
All good. I move to approve $250 for 2018, $250 for 2019, if I understand that correctly.
Mhm.
Yes,
And that's for native stand then?
yes.
I'll second that.
All right,
Discussion and then we'll vote.
okay. Any discussion on this? Not, we can go ahead and vote.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
And then the other request is from the Human family here, and they had asked, wait, is this the same one?
Yeah, so
Okay.
you saw it last time and Sean presented, and then
Okay.
the executive committee recommends to approve $500.
Okay, all right. Then we can go ahead with the Sweat Lodge update.
But we
and-
need to get that approved.
Oh,
We'll have to do the same process. It's all good.
okay.
So the human family, is there any information that we can remind ourselves?
Yeah, so they are hosting the North Dakota Human Rights Film and Arts Festival for 2018, and one of their focuses is the missing and murdered Indigenous women crisis, along with homelessness in North Dakota. And that's coming up in November, and they requested $500.
I move to approve $500 as recommended by the executive committee for the human family request.
Second?
Okay. Approved.
All in favor? Yep.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
I'm learning.
All good.
Okay, then we can move on to the Sweat Lodge update that Guy Fox will give us.
Yeah.
Thanks, Guy.
Yeah, it's been a struggle since Willard retired and we were taking over responsibilities. I think in 2012, Derek Stonefish and I wrote up rules and responsibilities for the lodge, kind of a decorum type of deal. And then Willard would vet spiritual leaders to pour water. And since Willard's retirement, we've been taking over those responsibilities, and our committee has stepped up to kind of divvy up the tasks. We had a group that was going to search for a 3-person senior advisory board. We were going to have a group work on the moving of the lodge and the wood and moving that location that's at 37th Avenue South and 39th Street. And then we had another group of 3 people that were going to work on improvements like sheds, working with the city on a fence, landscaping, that type of thing. So progress has been slow. We've been shut down since May 1st based on the recommendation of the committee at the time. And there's been some frustration in the community about getting that lodge back open. So if you guys would like to comment, you guys can come up, please. Yep. But just to clarify, this sweat committee, we've had meetings, and it is our duty to get this back open. And we can discuss with Amanda here. Yeah, pick a spot. Yep.
So, Ujuanin, Indinaway Magarag Indigenous Cause, Gibaniwan Manikwe. Hello, all my relations. My name is Chokterry Woman. I'm from Turtle Mountain Reservation, and I also sit on the Sweat Lodge Committee. And so my only concern is that we have such a diverse community in the Native population here. And the Sweat Lodge has been shut down for 5 going on 6 months. And the community members that I work with, I'm the director for the Native American Christian Ministries. So I work with people who are in recovery and coming from places where they are normally sweating once a week. So coming from a prison to here, and then for them to know that there's a Sweat Lodge here, but that it is on hold, is a little disheartening. I've also had families come to me asking for ceremony in Sweat Lodge because of sickness, because they have COPD, or because one just last week was telling me that her nephew had cancer and it was terminal, and she would like to have a ceremony here for herself, as well as going in and pray for that nephew. So those are the things that I'm facing, and I've been a part of sweating here in Fargo since 2014. I came into a bump before, and I've learned a lot since then. I've learned that there's personal biases that's set in place, and that's unjust and unethical. And so it ran smoothly for a little while after that bump. And what I see happening now is that our community is growing. And so we're going to hit a lot of boulders. And I don't believe I've exchanged words over the Sweat Lodge page. And I won't disclose names because that's not who I am. But I've exchanged words, and what I got was not such a good side. But I did a lot of reflecting and thinking, and my heart is there, and my spirit's there for Creator and for His people. And what I believe is that it is great that we have the 2 people that we have right now who are coming up with policy and procedure. From what I'm aware of is Olivia and Willard, and that's great. That's great for a short-term policy and procedure. But ideally, we have such diverse Native Americans here that we need a diverse group of elders from each tribe to kind of maybe come together, maybe not go sit in one room, but I feel that in my heart, what Creator's telling me is that we reach out to those schools and we look for their cultural department, and we ask those cultural teachers to lead us in the right direction of an elder that would be willing to step forward for their people. And then we collaboratively come together with those guys, and we write a more permanent structured policy and procedure. There will be no biases. There will be no sickness in it, because these are going to be elders outsourced. And I also believe that I believe I'm grateful, and I have a lot of gratitude for my allies, for our allies as Native people here in this urban colonized world. I'm grateful for that, and I appreciate all the help that they give. But I believe that allies are meant to be allies and not sit at the table as a rule maker. So I also believe that allies are meant to learn so much about our people, but they're not to do the teachings for our people, but to be allies with us and strengthen our backbone and help us to walk in the good world here in an urban area. So that's pretty much what I had to say is I think it would be great if we did that. And I have people who are needing to be in ceremony. And me and my fiance and my family, we can travel for ceremony and we can go out of town. But like I said, the people I'm working with who are in halfway homes and homeless shelters, who are in treatments, they can't travel. And so they're looking for that healing here in a community where it's already been established. And I feel that it's shut down because of the diverse population of Native Americans that are here and diverse leaders. And I'm going to go biblically because I'm Christian, but kind of like in the Bible, it talks about how Jesus was not able to sit there and preach in his own town. And that's kind of how it is here. We can't have preachers from our own town. They have to be outsourced, so there's no personal biases, so there's no judgment, so there's none of those things like that, but everything's done in a good way.
Okay.
I got-
When you're talking about allies, do you mean non-Indians?
Yep.
Okay. And then your point of view, not to put you on the spot, you don't have to answer if you don't want
you're
to, but what do we need to do? What's your view on that? How do we proceed?
How do we proceed?
Yep.
Okay, so I did a lot of looking into things. So they used to have a sweat lodge over at United Tribes for the basketball teams, for the diverse culture that's there. And what they did is they reached out to surrounding tribes for their elders to come in and to write that policy and that procedure. And that worked for them for a while as long as they had that sweat lodge going. And I think that that's what we should do is we should reach out. And I don't believe that there's going to be an elder that's going to say no. They want their people to heal. And they're going to say, this is this and this is that. And our allies, the ones who are very well educated and knowledgeable in writing the policies and procedures, I feel like those notes that are given from those elders can be given, and that's how they get written out. And that's how our people can move forward. And that's how we don't keep bumping into these roads to where healing has to stop because something's happened small between us, the community that's here, because there's a personal bias on it, because somebody feels entitled, so people are losing and people are hurting.
Sure. So to the lay people that don't know sweat, when you're on a reservation and you have a piece of land, that person owns the sweat, they can tell people that they can come and go, or if you're, reasonable suspicion, if there's a person that you think is maybe drunk or high, you can say, no, you're not coming in. Non-Indians, we can say, no, that's not our way. I've even heard elders talk about some sweats are only men.
Yep.
Women shouldn't be in there. Non-Indians shouldn't be in there. And so we have a unique task of having a City of Fargo sweat lodge, which is an absolute godsend. Super grateful for that. But we need to walk delicately on how we're going to accommodate the public. And I know that we have to take traditional rules and place them in an urban setting, but how do you coalesce or perfectly make that congruent? It's hard to do. That's some of the things that we found coming up on that May 1st cutoff is that we were exposed. And that has come through our growth. The lodge has met some success with having programs there, visitors from out of town, other tribal members knowing about that they can pit stop in Fargo and have a good lodge. But the old way of doing things where we call me and then we put it on the page and then Willard checks them out, see if they're cool, that can't fly anymore. So we, upon that retirement of Willard, we need to beef that up. We need to protect ourselves from that exposure. If we have someone from a program that comes out drunk, what is our policy? If we have an issue where our fire's too close to the lodge and we have our fire permit, what's our plan? If we have an injury, what's our plan? If there is someone that the majority of people feel that that person does not have the rights to pour water, that by itself is a touchy issue in any culture. I mean, any stretch of the imagination. It's tough to do, to tell people that they can't come in there. So what I'm hearing from you is we outsource. Can you walk me through what you'd like to see? Because we wanted to talk about general decorum for the lodge, but maybe you're talking about a certain criteria that you would like to see from spiritual leaders around the region.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that privately, and we'll get your thoughts on what you would like to see from that criteria?
I would really like to see the lodge open and
Okay.
not have to keep running into this because people are having their own nepotism and personal biases.
Okay.
So I would just like to see that out of their sickness, out of it. It's a sickness, and we don't need that sickness in a spiritual way. So,
Okay. But do you understand that we have to make sure that if someone calls up City of Fargo wants to talk to somehow, they say that they're Indian, but they're not.
right.
They never sweat, they've never nothing, but they want to run Sundance, they want to run fasting, they want to run these ceremonies.
Right,
How do we say no?
right,
And that's where it gets sticky.
right. And that's why I think it's really important that we reach out to those elders.
Sure? Okay. Well, let's collaborate. We'll get a meeting that can fit everyone's schedule, and we'll put those views down. And I will do a better job of bringing those updated meeting minutes to the NAC meeting. I haven't been doing that. Even though we've been having committee meetings, I haven't brought those minutes and articulated them or printed them or posted them, so we can do a better job at that.
Right on.
Is there anything else you'd like to see from the committee besides opening it? And then reaching out for the advisory board, having the advisory board be a blend of diverse backgrounds, not people from the same hometown, same reservation.
I don't think that that responsibility should sit on one person,
Okay?
one tribe. We have too many different tribes that live here in the Fargo-Moorhead area and that come through, so.
I'd like to say too here, you know, we're talking about policies and procedures and working with the city to where people have been having sweat, and we know, and, you know, and that's really disrespectful for all of us and the city because they have given this to us, you know, so I think maybe that for those who have been sneaking out there need to really come to these meetings and follow these policies and procedures. So,
I haven't heard of a sweat for a while. I know in Bonanzaville that there was one, but I haven't heard of a sweat here in Fargo for a while.
Yeah, we had unidentified people. We don't even know who they are.
Well,
Yes.
If it's being unoccupied, they probably feel it's free for all.
Sure.
that's, yeah.
To give it another update, and then we'll let you introduce yourself and speak, but working with the city also, based on our budget, it's not enough to carry the whole lump sum site improvements. So let's say, for example, our budget is $5,000. There's a budget right at the back end of here. Sweat lodge operation, 5,000. That 5,000 can't carry a full fence, landscaping, bathrooms, that type of thing. So we need to be creative on how to piecemeal that. And maybe we get in the same room and we get a wish list, or we talk to someone that can finance the whole thing. And I don't know, maybe we have to do some fundraising. But if the cost of all improvements to make it perfect is 30, 40 grand, you know. But please.
Yes, my name is Joanna Stately, and I've been out there since pretty much it opened, and I've always supported the people there that will come out there. And, you know, some of the things that have been going on, there has been so much bias that I observe, and it needs to have these roles, and they need to be in place. And I don't really particularly have any bias against who runs it, who pours the water, but you know, I don't. Those people that come out there to do that, you know, they're just part of. We welcome them at the table, and that should be it. They shouldn't be the ones making the rules for the Native community out there and in here. And if it's going to be moved, it should be at a place where we could have, you know, more quietness. You know, from 37th to 39th, that's not really a quiet place. There's places up north of that could be. You know, they got a sweat lodge at the VA, they got one at MSUM. You know, we could collaborate with them and at least get some sweats going for the people here. But I know at the VA, it's strictly veterans only. But we could do something with MSUM.
Would you guys be willing to volunteer?
Oh, yeah.
Volunteer.
Can you spearhead that?
Volunteer what?
Can you collaborate with MSUM and whoever else to get sweats going, and we'll
But
kind of...
that's why we have our ally Olivia, isn't that? She's MSUM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're suggesting you don't want to volunteer?
No, I don't want to volunteer.
Okay.
I'm trying to work for the Fargo Lodge and get us going here.
Okay. So what do you think we should do with the MSUM Lodge? I missed the point, yes.
Well,
My fault.
you know, if our lodge here in Fargo, if it's gonna keep going on where it's not gonna happen anytime soon, then we could do something with MSUM and see if they'll work, you know, with us, because we had sweats over there before, and it's a perfect spot to have this where they have it. You know, we don't gotta drive through the mud or, you know, places park.
The thing about the non-Indian thing, I'm gonna take issue with that. We have people that chip in and help.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah, great allies.
Yep. But then, you know, if you want to get super technical on it, when you're in the lodge, and I don't know if this is the place or the time, but, you know, certain spiritual leaders adopt Lakota principles. If you're going to be super strict, that person should know their own language, know their own songs, and not be teetering back and forth between Anishinaabe songs, Chippewa songs, Cree songs, Lakota songs. It should be strict. But I don't know if we can do that in an urban setting. I think we need that blend. I think we need to accommodate that diverse population. We need to open it up. And if that includes non-Indians, I don't know how to feel about that. I think, especially in a spiritual setting, the teaching should be to include everyone. But that's definitely a point we can make for the next SWET meeting, so that we don't burden everyone right here. Would you guys be cool with that?
I'm always cool with the meetings.
Okay. And then, Chelsea, what was the plan to get the lodge open? It was the vetting of the people that pour water, and then we have the rules already submitted to the planning department for review. The city's cool with it. We move to the commission for approval.
So once the rules and policy are reviewed by the city to make sure they're okay, and the acknowledgement form that participants will have to sign is reviewed, and the advisory committee of 3, I think, was decided at the last meeting, then it's just a matter of the NAC doing approval of that policy and for SWET and who schedules it, and the scheduling process. Once that's approved, we can add information into the rules and bylaws about it being, you know, subject to change upon full approval of the NAC. So it doesn't have to be the absolute say-all, end-all. It's the policies and procedures that we can have in place so that SWET can open up as soon as possible. So it was the rules and policies and the acknowledgement form being approved through the city, and then the advisory committee being approved through the SWET committee. So the people that the group decides as a whole would vet spiritual leaders.
Cool.
Right on. So all I was trying to say, just to wrap it up, is that I think we need elders to do the policy and procedures, and it's great to have allies to put that in the order that it's meant to be.
Okay.
So,
To hold ourselves accountable, can we have a SWET committee this week?
yep,
Today's Thursday.
yep.
Do you think we can have one tomorrow?
Depending on what time.
And we'll try to get open. What's the right way to do this? Let's talk it through. Do we move it into next week? We vote at the SWET committee. We bring it to the commission? Am I hearing that right?
Yep, and we can request a special meeting at any time. So if we want to have a special meeting just to review and approve the policies so that SWET can get up and running as soon as possible, we can definitely do that too.
You rock, Joe.
Huh?
You rock.
We all rock, and we're all together on this, and it's all about one thing, and that's
So-
our community.
I have the rules right here.
Yep.
How do we fast track it even more? How do we make use of this meeting?
Catlin, would you be able to, is that the final approved done?
Not the final, but we'll state that it's a working document forever to be
Okay.
Thank you.
revised.
If, whenever you guys set the the SWET subcommittee meeting, once that's done and then there's a full vote there approving everything, then it moves on to the city and the NAC. I'm not sure if Nicole or if one of you guys can answer, but does the city have to approve that, or can the NAC approve it solely? Or does it have to be approved by,
I think that they just wanted to be in the loop,
okay,
but I'll still refer.
Yeah.
They didn't want to make any decisions, but they wanted to be abreast of the information.
Okay.
So they weren't blindsided with some issue. I think we have the committee's blessing to proceed with the acknowledgement form and the rules that are a work in progress, and then we will table the contact person and the advisory board until we discuss. So the things that we could vote on are the rules to get going and the acknowledgement form, and we could have the lodge open by the weekend or next weekend.
Right on.
if you guys hold the meeting on Friday, when is the NAC available to meet next week, anytime?
Well, I think he just said we have the blessing of the committee. That means, like, if you guys vote on it right now, right?
Yep.
Am
so
I hearing that
understand
right?
it.
I'm not sure if we can vote on something that's not, like, I think that it has to be approved by the full committee, subcommittee first, and then the NAC does the final approval.
Okay,
But
that's what we'll do.
if you guys if you guys have a meeting tonight or tomorrow, then that's all online. Send it off to Catlin, Tia, and Sharon. And then whenever we want to meet next week, NAC can hold a special meeting just for SWET, get it approved, and you guys can have it open as soon as that night.
How many committee members are needed for a quorum?
On the SWET committee, I was going to ask, who is on the SWET
Because
committee?
there's three right here, right now.
It's Guy and Whitney is what,
That's the-
who's on it now.
Yeah, but then the community members, there's 30,
Okay.
30, 40 people.
Okay.
In and out.
Yep.
34 people in and out.
Okay.
Yeah, and our executive meeting is next Thursday at noon.
I think that we would have to have a special meeting to have the full NAC approve it.
But we've done that in the past too.
Yeah.
Vote over,
So
okay.
that's my understanding, and I'm not sure if
It's in the
that's-
bylaws about a vote over email.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you guys feel heard that
Thank you.
we need to question allies and then advisory board to address the diversity so that it's not same
Absolutely.
parties?
Yep.
Okay.
Right on. Good.
All right, make one.
Madam Chair, if I could for a second.
Yes. Go ahead, John.
Guy, what do you mean it's in the bylaws to vote via email? Would you explain that?
Yeah, let me get the bylaws. Are there bylaws? Is it-
And as you're doing that, the main thing is that if we do have action items via email or digitally, I don't know that we can without breaching open meeting laws.
Right, and I was also wondering if we end up calling a special meeting, what the notice needs to be for that, a certain number of hours usually, so that we can make sure that we adhere to that.
It did.
Yeah, it's 24 hours.
And so if
24
may-
hours for a special meeting?
Mhm. And maybe potentially you could match it with the exec committee, which already will have 3 people attending, so.
I'd be able to attend next Thursday.
Are we looking for the information in terms of the bylaws
How
still?
about we keep going, we'll come back to the bylaws when they,
Okay, okay. All right, so here we're gonna go move to the Native American picnic debrief, and Chelsea is going to give us that fun information.
The Native American picnic was really awesome. We have the sign-in sheets that I have to redo the tally total, but we had, I think, 107, let me count again. But then there were people who were coming in and out that didn't sign. We had 2 bouncy houses and a dunk tank and beanbag toss. What do you guys, cornhole, I think is
Yeah.
the appropriate term for it. And then there were some people who came down, did some little bit of public speaking, and then they fiddled for our cakewalk. We had a lot of people jump in and help out to and offer to volunteer at the very last minute. Literally the day before, our volunteers rallied around each other, and I did want to, I think Amanda stepped out, but I did want to thank her and her volunteers specifically. And then there were 3 young individuals also there. It was Nikolai, I think it's Louis, or Louis, and they're on the NACA Community Picnic page, live feed. They were awesome at helping out, and it was overall, I think, a pretty good success. And the dunk tank, in a little less than 30 minutes, raised $52.05 for programs throughout the Native American Commission and community. So I thought it was awesome. Lenore, you were there.
Oh, yes.
You were there, Whitney. There's a few bee stings. Other than that, nothing major.
All right, that was a really good day. So then we'll move to number 8, and Chelsea has the update for the Indigenous Peoples' Day.
So Indigenous Peoples' Day, we've been meeting every Wednesday. I would like to thank Heather Keeler-Johnson for being in attendance at every meeting from the very beginning. We have decided on the location, which will be Agassiz. We're starting at 9:30 a.m. At Agassiz, or Woodrow Wilson, however you want to describe it. There is a save-the-date notice. There will be opening remarks, presentation of the flags of the tribal nations. I think it's still, we're deciding whether it's just going to be the North Dakota tribal nations that are representing their flag, or the Minnesota tribal nations, if they'll be included too. I would hope that the Minnesota tribal flags would be included in that. There is going to be a reading of the proclamation. I'm not sure if that's going to be done by the mayor, but Mayor Mahoney will be there. And we are looking at food right now, possibly Daughters of the Earth doing the cooking and catering, a traditional meal. And then we have 2 breakout sessions, one for the youth, which will be from 12 o'clock until 2 o'clock. And then the adults will break out for kind of cultural competency or cultural sensitivity from, I believe it was 2:15 to 5. Then we'll have a meal. Then we're going to have a mini powwow, have a little good time, enjoy each other's company. And that's about where we're at right now. There'll be a drum group in the morning and in the afternoon. And yes, I think that if there's any more questions, Catlin has also been at the meetings and sending out the information too. So, pass.
Yeah, I think you aced it, so, yeah.
Good
What
job,
day is it?
Awesome. Again, Indigenous Peoples' Day will be October 8th beginning at 9:30 at the Agassiz School in Fargo. Again, Indigenous Peoples' Day, October 8th. Agassiz, starting at 9:30. Was told to repeat it 8 times. I think 8 was the max when people start to remember it. So I'll spare you the other 6.
Thank you, Chelsea. We can move to number 9, and Whitney's going to just give us an update on that here.
Okay, Commissioner Strand asked about an update on the Native American Center. Chair Whitebear stated she would work on getting information and an update to provide at the next board meeting. Update of Native programs, this is in the packet. Number 1, Welcome Center. 2, Gathering Place. 3, cooking at many events at the Fargo Marathon, Community Picnic, and Indigenous Peoples' Day. 4, Drum Group, singing lessons and practice. 5, recovery programs, AA and Walking the Red Road. 6, sewing, like ribbon, shirts, shawl making, and grass dance outfits. 7, the Crossroads powwow meetings. 8, Native American Commission meeting and retreats. 9, talking circle. 10 fundraising. Then I assume this means here that the Native American Center is closed spring in 2018. The storage of property from the Native Center, here, 2 options, right? Or are they both going to be, okay, 2 options versus rental space at the rate of $100 to $125 and a private garage at a rate of $75 per month.
Okay, so that, John, that was, answering your question on what, we did in there and stuff, so, and that it's closed. And then we also brought up the fact that the storage for the property of the Native Center, at this time, everything we get out for an event, we can't put it back in. So, after the Native American picnic, there was a elderly lady, that said we could put the stuff in her garage. And we talked about that, maybe giving her $75 a month. Right now, she has all the tables and chairs in there, which were in my garage, and then like all the paper products from every event we've just had. So there's a lot of it. And like we've got the roasters. So they do want us to be out before it gets cold. And this is from the janitor. He said that they needed us to be out and for someone else to be in there so that they'll be able to use it and the pipes don't freeze. So somebody would probably want to talk to the pastor and see what's going on. But every time we need something, we have to call him and then, he's not going to open up later. So we have a lot of stuff in the garage right now. So I'm not quite sure what our plans are.
Is all of the, stuff belonging to the NEC, is it out yet, or?
Oh, no, there's rooms full of stuff there that we need to get. And a TV, and there's just a lot, so.
Is there a time limit on when that has to happen?
Well, according to the maintenance man, before it gets cold.
We should probably get a date on that, because that could be any day. And really what they mean, and maybe, I don't know, it might be helpful to have an accounting of what those items are. We know what that lady, like you said, she volunteered to store those items after the picnic.
Right.
But just so that we have an idea of how much is over there and what kind of space is going to be required to store those items, if they all still need to be retained by the commission, or if some of them we don't need anymore. I don't know. But I think it would be a good idea to have an inventory down, electronically in terms of what's over there, and figure out when we need to get out, who will be able to help with that and how, and where the items are going to go. And it's great to have volunteers for storage, but at some point, we can't rely on, I think that we need to probably figure out how in our budget, or where we budget for the potential need to pay for that storage. Because we can kind of take advantage of it in a good way of volunteer, but at some point, we don't have that, and then all of a sudden, we need to pay for it, and we don't have the dollars set aside. Those were my thoughts, and especially after being part of a conversation, at the picnic, we talked about that a lot in terms of where are all of these pieces going to go.
I haven't been on.
Madam Chair,
Yes, John?
I guess a question I have is what's the future needs, and is something equivalent to a Native American Center a high priority, and if so, how do we approach that and when?
Yep, I agree with you, John, on that. And this is Rebecca. And because we've had conversations in our community about Guy, we know well about it, about Native American Center needs and kind of long-range thoughts. But what might need to be kind of coming down the bend more, more quickly, yeah. And what that's part of one of my reasons for saying, what do we all have there? And a good list of the services that are provided there or that need to be provided that aren't provided there, because we might need to look for some other partners to help us. And I think we can do that. My thought would be we can do that, and that I'm thinking positively that we will find a partner or partners willing to help. But just like with allies, you know, everyone will want to know, well, what do you have? Whether it's storage, what kind of space do you need? What kinds of resources do you need? What kind of access do we need?
Yeah.
To build on what John had just mentioned.
Any other questions or any ideas?
Regarding the inventory of the supplies and programs absolutely needed, where to keep the inventory, what's the new city hall looking like? Is there space? Is there a closet off to the side? No. What about in the old city hall building or the one right across from the PD? There's no rooms that we could utilize or space that we could utilize?
Not at this time. Everything is so in fluctuation with the move that there aren't any certain plans with everything that we have, in essence, at this time.
Okay, so all the space is already allocated? Dang it. We could have gotten it for free. I do agree that the Native Center is needed in the interim. Not exactly sure how that would happen. I know that there's a couple of different groups that are looking at like temporary locations. I think there was the basement of a church at one point that was being talked about, and then there was another location that was being talked about for the interim, but nothing is solid yet. That's all I have to say.
So if we could find out the date of when we need to be out, I think that would really help us guide in our decision-making and moving forward. I'd be willing to help with that, if I'd be willing to go over and help take down a list of items that are there. You know, if there's someone else that would like to join me over there. I've not been over there very often, so I'm not so familiar with the space, but I'm willing to help. I'm willing, when we get to the point of helping, to develop a list of what some of the needs are, but I'm not Native, and so I don't know what the needs are, but I'm willing to help, at least have those conversations, and I'm willing to help reach out into the community to see then, once we've determined what our needs are, both space and just the, what the facility needs to, how it needs to service us, to help just reach out and see where we might find some allies or partners that could assist us. So if we end up, you know, needing some kind of a committee for that, I'd be willing to hop on to kind of an ad hoc committee to help keep this going.
Okay.
I think if we just make the date November 1st, we'll ask if that's acceptable. I can work on finding a space for the stuff. We'll have to collaborate in the meantime on how to move this stuff. As for the needs, we'll just table it and put it on the agenda for the forever till it's done.
And yes, we could probably meet there and maybe start boxing up some stuff. There's a lot of stuff, like the kitchen, a lot of stuff in the offices. There's a TV, so. And the maintenance man is the only one that will let us in, but at this time, he's only letting Tanya Redroad in. But I think we should have someone here on the commission, because she's busy, and it really was hard for her to help us out during the picnic to get things out of there, so.
Is it our intent to transplant this stuff to the next center?
Yeah.
Or should we sell the stuff? Because then, let's say we put that into the fund. I mean, if it's gonna be a new lodge, or, I'm thinking lodge, a new center, I mean, we're gonna wanna transplant all old stuff in there.
I'll say
What do you
that the
think?
TV is really nice, but the computer is pretty old. The desks are,
The kitchen stuff.
I think, yeah, I don't.
New roasters in there.
Yeah, we got 3 roosters in there.
Yeah, I think a couple of them maybe belong to people, though, I think is what I heard. but there's like a lot of artwork in
And
there too that
sewing
people
machines.
donated and things that were donated, but I do think some of that could maybe be, if it would be not, like, if it would be easier to sell the desks instead of move them or store them, so they're gonna take up a large amount of space and maybe wouldn't fit into the new space, then maybe that's a possibility. There's a bunch of filing cabinets,
Yeah.
a grill.
Yep, that's
We
in the
might have to
garage.
Oh, but
Blend those ideas.
that's really nice grill, so.
Lenore, is there a committee that this would fall under? Because maybe, or if we need to form an ad hoc committee, but like I said, I'd be willing to help on that, and maybe that group could make some recommendations to then the broader Native American Commission of, you know, boy, this desk we should keep, or that desk we should sell, or to kind of bring some of those recommendations here, and that might help us with, I'm just thinking about, you know, instead of doing some of that business here, but we'd have to have an accounting of what we have first.
Okay, yes, I think we should form a committee to help pack up and clean the Native Center.
In the bylaws, under Article 6, Committees, subsection D, there is on number 7, Special Projects Committee already established. So we could just assign this as a Special Projects Committee for
Okay.
the inventory and storage of the old Native American Center. And I'll volunteer to be on it, but not run it.
I'll volunteer.
Yes, I will as well.
Okay, I'll volunteer.
I'll volunteer sometime. I do know maybe one priority thing would be that there's a whole bunch of canned food over there. And if it's getting close to its expiration, I'm sure the Great Plains Food Bank would super appreciate if, I mean, I don't know that we're gonna be able to store, I mean, there's like a lot
Special
of
meetings.
canned food over there.
Okay, good. Good to
And then
know.
there's some household items too that I think could be used by, you know, if the group is open to considering that to community members that are receiving housing and need household supplies. Like, it's just inexpensive, like glassware and plates and forks and stuff that I don't think that, like, health-wise, it's like super healthy to be reusing silverware. We should probably buy plastic. But just a suggestion on that to get the food taken care of right away so that it doesn't go kind of unused.
We might want to make sure that there, if it is actually a formal committee, that we don't have 5 of us on it. Just because of, right, wouldn't that be kind of core? I don't know, do we need to worry about that? That's what we were talking about in regard to the Public Relations Committee too. So if we prefer to have 4 people instead of 5 officially, and I'm sure we're going to need many volunteers anyways.
Okay, so if we can get 4 commissioners and volunteers, and then we can call and then meet, I mean, we don't have to go through the commission or anything to meet. We can go ahead with that, right? Okay, so,
I make a motion to create a Special Projects Committee for the Native American Center, inventory, and yeah, we'll just say Special Projects Native American Center, to be composed of 4 NAC members and then volunteers from the public if they wish to participate.
Second.
all in agreement?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
I also make a motion to have Guy, Whitney, Rebecca, and myself be the 4 members on that committee. And we'll text each other, just get a text chain going, figure out what needs to accomplish, how we can do it, unless somebody else wants to be on it as an NAC member. I just have a new dolly I want to try out,
Oh,
so,
cute.
Good.
Okay.
that was my
Oh.
motion.
Okay, is there,
Second.
okay, thank you. And all in agreement?
Yes.
Aye.
No.
All right, then,
Yes.
any announcements?
I do want to step back a little bit and we were talking about the bylaws regarding meetings. So under Article 5, meetings, subsection B, subsection A, a chair or a majority of the NAC may call a special meeting. B, all NAC members and the public will be notified at least 3 days in advance of a special meeting of the NAC. The notice will include date, time, and place. And C, an agenda will be sent to commissioners at least 3 days in advance of a special meeting and will include usual order of business with time for public comment period at a specified time. And the quorum, a total of 5 NAC members shall be present, and the time allocated for public comment would be limited to 5 minutes per person and at the end of the meeting.
There's something in there about voting electronically. But for announcements, Scott Sattermo is having an event, a meet and greet tonight at the Hilton Garden Inn from 6 to 8. He is running for Fort Berthold Mandan Hidatsa Arikara tribal chairman. So everyone is welcome at the Hilton Garden Inn tonight from 6 to 8.
Okay, and now we may adjourn.
Cool.